The famed golf face in Colombo, lapped by the waves of the Indian Ocean, wears a deceptive calm. Hordes of families throng the beachfront, playing ball games and snacking on fried fish peddled by eateries.
Shots in the air is being fired here.
2 years ago, in July 2022, it was packed with angry supporters of the Aragalaya Sinhala for the struggle. They mounted a massive protest against the ruling dispensation headed by the Rajapaksa brothers for the economic hardships they had to endure. Inflation soared to over 100%. There was a critical shortage of fuel for motor vehicles. This, coupled with the food and fertilizers crisis, pushed Sri Lanka to the brink of a shocking economic collapse. Both Mahinda, who was Prime Minister, and Gotabaya, his younger brother, who was President, had to resign and flee in a hurry as irate mobs stormed into their residential compounds. Since then, the situation has stabilised under the steadying hand of President Ranil Vikramasinghe. He was forced to take tough measures, including borrowing $1.4 billion from the International Monetary Fund. And there was generous help from India of over $4 billion funding Vikramasinghe, helping him to stem the economic meltdown. But India's southern neighbour could still easily slide over the economic edge. That's why the upcoming presidential elections on September 21st will be another turning point in Sri Lanka's troubled history. It could be the last chance for Lanka.
Hello, I'm Raj Chengappa of India Today, and I'm standing at the famous golf face of Colombo. This, 2 years ago, was the epicenter of one of the biggest popular uprisings called the Aragalaya that overthrew the Rajapaksa government in 2022. Today, this area is calm. People are enjoying themselves on a Sunday, but beneath the calm, there is another big event happening. And this could be another turning point in the Sri Lanka's, the island's troubled history. And this is the upcoming presidential election that is to be held on September 21st, barely a month away. And this is a critical crossroads because so far in the past 2 years, Sri Lanka has limped back to normalcy, though there is, as you can see, a lot of holiday makers. The situation in terms of the economic indicators still remain critical. If you recall, there was high inflation, food prices had gone up, petrol prices had gone up, cooking gas prices had gone up, and there was a popular revolt that knocked the Gotabaya administration. Gotabaya was Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the younger brother of Mahinda Rajapaksa, was elected president in 2019 with a clear majority. And again, the SLPP, the ruling party at that time, also won a landslide victory in the 2020 parliamentary elections. 2 years later, they were knocked down by their own folly, and now there are over 24 candidates vying for the president's post, and the person that has led the entire government during this period, ironically, is Ranil Vikramasinghe, who was 4 times Prime Minister, in fact 6 times he's been sworn in as Prime Minister. He was a majority of 1, that he was a nominated MP. He agreed to take over the presidency, and backed by the ruling SLPP, which is the Rajapaksa's party, they formed a government and he ran it. He brought, India gave a lot of assistance, China gave a lot of assistance, and the country limped back to normalcy on a lot of borrowings. That means the debt overhang is there. At the moment, there is a grace period, and so he's able to stabilize the finances, and he projects himself as someone who has brought stability back, and therefore he should be elected. But he has a serious challenger in Sajid Premadasa. Now, Sajid Premadasa was his former compatriot, formed his own party called the SJB, was the prime opponent to Gotabaya in the 2019 elections. They lost. He got about 46% vote, but came second. He is now one of the front runners. In fact, surveys show that he is the front runner for the next presidential election. And it is a hot battle between Ranil Vikramasinghe, Sajid Premadasa, and there is a third party, the JVP, the extreme center-left party that is now coalesced into a large leftist party called the NPP. They brought together a lot of coalition partners, and that is the third party that is in contest for the presidential elections. These are the three serious contenders. Each of them have their own values. Over here, I went across and looked at what are the key issues. Of course, stability is a big issue. Change, which the Aragalya or the protesters or the uprisings that happened in 22 is the other big theme. Sajid Premadasa is promising big change. He says, I will, he calls the entire lot that ruled for the past 2 years as corrupt and immoral, in the sense that they had no legitimacy for a person who had not been elected as president or not won a nomination to become president. And he says that has to go, and he is the strongest candidate. Ranil Vikramasinghe says he has brought the nation back stability, and he deserves more years to ensure and puts the threat out that there is a possibility of another collapse. And his supporters point to Bangladesh, and where we saw righteous scenes, and therefore he says this is the time to elect him. The JVP says that both these parties are corrupt and they need to move out, and the left wants to occupy center stage over here. Hello, I'm Raj Chengappa from India Today and in Colombo at the office of the leader of the opposition, Sajid Premadasa, who's also president of the SJB. It is one of the leading parties, and there is a very critical election coming up, the presidential election, after Sri Lanka went into huge turmoil in 2022 that saw an economic collapse. And this election will be another turning point in the island's history. The man at the forefront is Sajid Premadasa, leading the presidential polls according to recent surveys. Sajidji, what is the key issues you feel, and why is this election so critical?
Presently, Sri Lanka is governed by an administration that does not have a people's mandate. Mm-hmm. The very same majority in Parliament which proposed illogical, misunderstood economic policies, mm-hmm. Sri Lanka fell into the situation of economic bankruptcy.
Right.
The very same people who put Sri Lanka into this terrible situation, which devastated many lives, they themselves formed into a coalition to have a replacement. So what we have is a replacement president, mm-hmm. elected by a group of parliamentarians who have lost their mandate. So it's very important that the people's voices are heard.
Right.
That the people themselves have an opportunity to elect their own leader, not go through the same old facade of a selected leader. We need an elected leader.
Right.
The people's opinions and their expectations, their views will be properly represented in such a situation. So the first important thing is the necessity for a people's mandate.
Right.
Second, even though it's not in that kind of a pecking order, a similar importance has to be attached to bring Sri Lanka out of this situation of economic catastrophe.
I was listening to the current President, Ranil Vikramasinghe, who at one time was your compatriot, you all were together in a party, and he accused you and of course the other rival of running away from the battle when the crisis happened in October, in 2022. What is your views on that? He says, look, they're not responsible, they left the battle, and I saved the country.
So the country that were bankrupted by the Rajapaksas, the country through corruption, kleptocracy, vast-scale looting of the Sri Lankan people's resources, they were the very same people who are backing the president right now. This is why those who stole our assets, those who were responsible for achieving very high commissions, all those monies parked abroad, they have not been brought to book. So this is the quid pro quo for supporting to come to high position. They are not brought to book. The stolen assets are not recovered. So I can tell you, very honest, yes, we ran away. We ran away from the rogues. We ran away from the corrupted political system, corrupt political leaders, corrupt from top to bottom. I'm not surprised that Vikramasinghe and Rajapaksa are very comfortable political bedfellows, because I remember quite distinctly in 2015 when we came into power, our mandate was to catch thieves. But under the present president's guidance, he was the then Prime Minister at that time, we came with a mandate to ensure that corruption is eradicated. But what happened? The then President and the Prime Minister encouraged cozy relationships with the very same people who were corrupt, which is one of the reasons why we were rejected way back in 2019, because we didn't implement the mandate.
You've heard what Sajid Premadasa had to say. We also went across and spoke to the SLPP party, which is, we spoke to the General Secretary, Sagar Karyavasam, and he talked about why the Rajapaksas are still relevant to Sri Lanka politics. The son of Mahinda Rajapaksa is now standing as one of the candidates. Namal, as he's called, came in as a surprise entry towards the end, and he's also become a contender to the battle, though many see it as the fact that the Rajapaksas want to stay relevant, and this party has been put up to knock both the extreme left as well as the Ranil Vikramasinghe supporters, so that their niche that they had created, the support, the base that they had, remains as is. Let's go and listen to what Sagarar had to tell me about the SLPP strategy.
The Sri Lanka Podujana Perumana, or SLPP, controlled by the Rajapaksa brothers, had won both the 2020 parliamentary and 2019 presidential polls with handsome majorities. But the Rajapaksas frittered away the mandate by making serious economic mistakes. Reduction of taxes for the rich led to a drop in government revenues. The overnight banning of chemical fertilizers impacted agricultural productivity. And then COVID reduced Lanka's tourism sector to rubble, and remittance from expats dried up. 2 years since the people's uprising that dethroned them, the Rajapaksas this time have fielded Mahinda Rajapaksa's son, 38-year-old Namal, as the presidential candidate, taking on the incumbent Ranil Vikramasinghe.
අභියෝග බාර ගන්න අපි සූදානම්. මම හිතන්නේ නායකත්වයේ සහ තරුණයෝ අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ අභියෝග තියෙන වෙලාවක. ඉතින් අපි පාක්ෂිකයා කෙරෙහි විශ්වාස කරනවා, ප්‍රතිපත්ති කෙරෙහි විශ්වාස කරනවා. මේ රටේ තරුණ පරම්පරාව අපේක්ෂා කරන මේ නූතන පරම්පරාවේ දේශපාලන බලවේගයක් විදිහට ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොත්ජන පෙරමුණ දෙමව්පියන්ගේ තරුණයන්ගේ අපේක්ෂාවන් මල්පල ගන්වන්න අපි කටයුතු කරනවා.
Namal Rajapaksa is the sitting MP in the 225-member Sri Lankan parliament. The eldest son of two-time President Mahinda Rajapaksa is trying to woo 92 parliamentarians who recently declared support for Ranil Vikramasinghe. This has caused a splinter in SLPP and severely limited support for his candidature.
We believe in national economy rather than a neoliberal economy, more nationalist economy. So because of that, we told him very clearly, okay, if you need our support, we have to sit down and discuss, and we have to come to a middle point where you will have to sacrifice your the things that you are believing to a certain extent, where we also will see where we can, which point we can meet at, and then we can go ahead. But it's sad to say that he never even tried to have that conversation with us. Instead of that, he tried to, take our members of parliament behind our back. So now he has taken majority of the members, but I'm pretty confident that he has not been able to take our supporters.
But Namal's candidacy will test whether his powerful family, which produced 2 presidents, has managed to retain its popularity despite Sri Lanka's grueling financial crisis.
We all are really thankful to Namal Rajapaksa, who took a very brave decision at that time, and he took the entire burden on his shoulders, the burden of the party. And I think that's a very unfortunate incident where our candidate had some personal issues at the last moment. But as a party, we have to go ahead. We are with our policies, and we have to go ahead.
The powerful Rajapaksa brothers are sitting out of this race. But Namal's name on the ballot paper may cut more into incumbent Ranil Vikramasinghe's vote and keep the Rajapaksas in the running for parliamentary elections that are likely to follow. Sri Lanka's incumbent President Ranil Vikramasinghe vowed to improve people's lives as he formally submitted his candidacy at Colombo's Election Commission on 15th August.
I have stabilized the economy. I have increased production. So they have food to eat. They have fuel to travel around. But it's not over yet. Life can be hard for some people. We have to stabilize the economy. So what we are saying is, let's go ahead and finish this job, and that's why I am asking for your support.
75-year-old Ranil Vikramasinghe is among 39 candidates in the presidential race. He, along with opposition leader Sajith Premadasa and Marxist-leaning parliamentarian Anura Kumara Dissanayake, are the 3 frontrunners in this race. It's a tough fight where number crunching will give an edge to the candidate. Vikramasinghe has been working hard to win the bid.
If you had to look at your own coalition that you've put together, one of the things is that there's a lot from other parties, and people say, well, this may not hold. What is your reply to them?
Look, we had to get together for 2 years. We got together for 2 years.
Right.
No one was trying to get together for elections.
Right.
So part of the celebrity with former President Rajapaksa has gone their own way.
Right.
Mr. Rajapaksa has gone his own way.
Right.
And a large number decided we'll stay together. Emergency situations is what we had. The whole party system broke down.
Right.
As I said, people are not willing to take responsibility.
And you think this coalition, you called it a pact, is something that the country needs and people will look forward to?
You need, for the first time, you're getting elements of all parties getting together.
Right.
That's something we have to, certainly, we have to build on.
Were you sort of disappointed that you had requested Mahinda Rajapaksa to support your independent candidacy? Instead, we find that his son, Namal, is standing. Were you disappointed by that, and do you think that is a setback?
No, I asked everyone. Didn't mean everyone was voting in there.
Right.
I mean, they gave us support at the most difficult moment.
Right.
I think I have thanked him for that. But I can't hold him to support me during an election. He's from one party, I was from another.
A former 6-time PM, Ranil Vikramasinghe hopes to win his first ever presidential election on the back of his performance in righting the economy through raising indirect taxes to meet IMF stipulations and launching bold economic reforms and tight fiscal policies. Seen as a wily operator, Vikramasinghe is standing as an independent candidate and promises stability and economic growth.
So there you have it. You've seen the range of opponents that are there that are trying to vie for the vital president's post for the upcoming elections. They each have their strong points and their views, but it is critical that whoever wins has to restore and continue the work that has been done to bring Sri Lanka back to normal after it went into the brink of an economic collapse, and there was every danger that chaos and anarchy could break out. This is something that the new government, the new president, would have to tackle. And the world waits, India waits with bated breath as to what would be the outcome of the Sri Lankan elections. Thank you for being with me. This is Raj Chengappa reporting from Colombo.